On today's show, we're revisiting the Dallas Mavericks 21-point comeback against the Golden State Warriors. It was too good to just talk about it one time. What are some big overarching questions we have afterwards? How much should we be concerned about Jalen Brunson? How much can the Mavs get away with the small ball? And is the three-guard lineup a gimmick, or can the Mavs actually do something with it? We'll talk about all that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Hey, Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good!
And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen every single day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. Thanks to everybody that has watched. If you're here for the first time, subscribe. We are a daily 5 days a week, plus every single post-game Dallas Mavericks podcast. And joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, and contributor at Mavs.com. The Revisit Royal, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
All right, I got something really funny off the top. Really funny.
Oh.
All I gotta say is just one name, and I just think it's fun. I don't know if you'll think it's funny as I do, but the Los Angeles Lakers. The other night, I'd say I guess this pod's coming out. So it's 2 nights ago, and my wife walks by me sitting on the couch, and I'm just like beaming. I'm like laughing. I'm enjoying. And she's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I'm like,
"Did you just say masochism or just like no Schadenfreude? Just complete Schadenfreude is what you were doing."
I just said, "I love watching this team fail," and there's just nothing like it. There's nothing like seeing the Lakers combust. And I just love every bit of it. I didn't know if you want to share that with me at the top, just some enjoyment, laughter, but it's great.
I will say, if the Mavericks find their somehow, and I don't know how this would even happen, but if the Mavs do find their way in the play-in against the Lakers just signed DJ Augustine. I mean, watch out. That is Mavs killer first
DJ
team
for DJ.
First team all Mavs killer DJ Augustine.
Okay, I haven't seen here I am. I'm making a Lakers joke. The Mavs play the Lakers tonight in LA.
Yeah.
Watch the Lakers go beat them, and then y'all can just give me crap for it. But
someone will clip it. If Andy Kamenetsky was more like vindictive and petty, he would clip it and just tweet it out. That'd be amazing.
Here's my thing. I've yet to see this on Twitter. I've seen you joked and texted me about it. I'm hoping it was a joke. And I haven't gotten any DMs or anything. Before anyone asks, no. DeAndre Jordan, no. Don't even.
Yeah,
don't ask. Don't tweet at us. We do not. I would rather play Trey Burke at center than DeAndre Jordan passing it and hitting the reunion tower.
I know. The answer for the Mavs at center is Marquise Chris, right? It's maybe not a great answer, but he's the guy that, if he ever comes back from knee soreness, he's the one that adds to that rotation and can actually play. So that's the answer there. But all right, let's get back into this game, because the Mavericks had their biggest comeback of the year. The Mavs have now had more comebacks from down 10 plus than any team in the NBA now. They showed that. They flashed that stat the other night. And the Mavs get the win against the Golden State Warriors, and it was a crazy one. And there's a couple of things I wanted to revisit from this. A couple of just quick thoughts. The real difference in the first half, I thought, when I went back and rewatched this, was the turnovers. I mean, and that is not something the Mavericks normally do, right? The Mavericks are second in the league in the lowest amount of turnovers. And it was Luka and Brunson and guys just turning the ball over in ways that they normally don't. And that was really, really, that was not something that the Mavericks normally do. And the Warriors were just scoring off of every single one of them. The difference between the points off of turnover for the Mavericks and for the Warriors was like 10, 15. And that's how the Warriors basically got their lead. And then they went on a little bit of a run at the beginning of the second half too. And then they just kind of tried to coast the rest of the way. And the Mavs were able to really take advantage of that.
Yeah, I was trying to look up exactly the amount of turnovers per game. So Dallas averages 12. Basically 12 and a half turnovers a game, third in the league in that. And they had 18 in that game, to kind of further your point there that they were turning the ball over a ton.
Yeah, absolutely a ton.
Also, shout out to Luka talking about in his interview with Malika Andrews, she was asking him about his frustration with refs, and he's just like, I mean, I don't know. I'm passionate about it. And it's so fun because he's so like calm and chill. And I mean, it's like that conditioning where some fans out there are like, oh my gosh, it's just narratives that Luka's like that with refs, or it's just narratives about his condition. I'm like, all right, watch this freaking interview and see Luka Doncic talk about his conditioning and his frustration with refs. Like, he knows this. So
he admits it.
It is a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, he absolutely admits that that's a thing for him. A couple more things. Random thought. Jonathan Kuminga made a ton of mistakes in this game. I thought that he was one of the reasons why the Mavs were able to get back in this game. He had a bunch of random fouls. He almost missed 3 dunks. One of them he barely got in. But just in the rewatch, he really stood out to me as an area where the Warriors are really just pushing for him to get some development. And I think it kind of bit them in this game. The other thing that stood out as a young guy on the Warriors was Gary Payton. Gary Payton took Jalen Brunson out of this game. Like, Gary Payton's defense was just absolutely incredible. We're used to seeing Brunson, struggle against long defenders, but Gary Payton was a quick, strong defender, and we haven't seen a lot of those like Brunson not be able to run to a spot and do some herky-jerky stuff and be able to get some stuff over the top of a defender like that. How much concern do you have about Jalen Brunson playing against a good team in the NBA? Because now this is a couple times we've seen him really struggle. You say this like I didn't ask you this before.
And you didn't. I didn't know how to answer it before either. I just I need to see it in the playoffs. Like, I think I would say this.
There's nothing in the regular season that you could take from and be like, okay, I'm worried. You just literally just have to see it in the playoffs. That's it.
Yeah. It's such a different type of basketball, and that's when everything matters. And it's just like, we saw Brunson last year and we're like, hey, fun. He's developing. This is cool. We weren't saying he was the second star last year, but then you get in the playoffs and you're like, woof, okay. And he knows this. He admitted to us how much this has stuck with him in the offseason. And I just want to see it. I want to see what happens when he goes against, if we go against Utah, if we go against another team out there and they put size on him, they put length on him, what happens to him then? So it's kind of hard. On Gary Payton, I like him as a player. Do we know a connection that he has with Luka? Because it seems like him and Luka,
they were going back and forth. Yeah.
But it's like, it seems fun. It seems like Luka has fun with him. He's not on Luka's, like, it's not, JTA out there. Okay. Like, he's not on Luka's list. And it seemed like different time, like, he's like helping him up and they're like laughing and joking. I just wonder if there's like a pre-relationship there. I'm sure some Luka stands out there will connect it somehow.
There's got to be something like that. So against playoff teams right now, Brunson is averaging under 15 points, just about 5 assists. He's shooting 33% from three, just under 45% from the field, and just taking 2.9 free throws a game. I would be more concerned about that number if the Mavs didn't have Spencer Dinwiddie. And this is one of the reasons why adding Spencer Dinwiddie was such a big thing for the Mavs, is that you have another guy that can score, right? You have another guy that can put up 24 points in a game if you need him to, especially with Tim Hardaway Jr. out. When Tim Hardaway Jr. was playing, the Mavs had, Luka could, or maybe Porzingis could, Tim Hardaway Jr. could. Every once in a while Brunson would, but this year he's been stepping it up more. And now you have that kind of like, he's the safety, right? He's the safety net that you have all three of those guys. Not all three of them are going to be off at the same time. And if they are, the Mavs are going to lose. And that's sort of the way that it is now.
Here, I'll flip a question back to you about Brunson. The past 2 games, Brunson has had 8 points and 8 points. The past 2 games for Spencer Dinwiddie, 24 points and 20 points. Can they both have good games?
Can they?
Or is that like, I mean, the first 2 games, because I looked at Brunson's numbers. They played 4 games since the trade. But those first 2 games, Dinwiddie was, very passive, just finding his rhythm. He still is to an extent. But these past 2 games, Dinwiddie's had over 20 points. And we're looking at saying, all right, Utah and Golden State. So is it a Brunson against good teams these past 2 games in Utah and Golden State? Or is it Brunson's just adjusting to having another ball handler creator out there in Dinwiddie? And they'll figure that out. That's the way I lean. I think it's more of they're figuring their stuff out. They're playing together, not just in the 3-man lineup type thing with Luka, but also they're playing together, them two. So I want to lean towards it's just an adjustment and not a Brunson against good teams or Brunson doesn't, can't succeed at the same time Dinwiddie can.
We've seen Brunson have good games against good teams. He had a 27-point game against Utah. Yeah. He's had, a couple of good games against the Clippers now. He's had, a couple of decent games against, actually all 3 of his games against Phoenix were pretty decent. One game he shot under 40%, but still scored 18 points and had 10 assists. But we've seen him have some pretty decent games. I am concerned about it, though. I do think that is something we absolutely have to see in the playoffs, like you said. And I'm more concerned about it looking at these numbers and seeing him play against teams like, Utah the last time, the Warriors, Denver a couple times there. And going into the playoffs, it'll be really interesting to see how he stands up to it, because he can make a ton of money going into this offseason if he has a big showing in the playoffs. And I think he knows that, and the Mavs know that, and it's for everybody's best interest that he does have a good playoffs going into this year. So definitely something to watch. But coming up, let's get into a couple more things to watch. How much can the Mavs get away with the small ball they did at the end of the game against the Warriors, and that 3-guard lineup, Luka, Dinwiddie, and Brunson? Kid has tried it now all 4 games. Is it a thing that he really wants to keep pushing? Can the Mavs get away with it? Is it a gimmick, or is it something real? We'll talk about that and more coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Built Bar. It's a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, and some of you may have been done with your New Year's resolutions. We're trying to eat better, and Built Bar helps us out with that. When I want to eat a candy bar and I'm like, man, I could use that peanut butter cup, or I could use a chocolate bar or something like that, I grab a Built Bar. They're absolutely great, and honestly, I would eat one instead of a candy bar and have. The Cherry Barcia is back and they're on sale right now. I love that bar. That's a really good one. But the Coconut Brownie Chunk is the best bar that they have. So go check it out. Built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15. You'll get 15% off your entire order. Check out all the different kinds. You can get a mixed box where you can try all the different flavors and see for yourself which ones are the best. Or you can just go for a box that has one flavor and get all of them and just try it all at once. Go check it out. Built.com. Promo code LOCKED15. All right, Isaac Harris, let's keep talking about this Dallas Mavericks win against the Golden State Warriors. A couple of big questions coming out of that game. Late in the game, the Mavericks went to this small ball lineup, and we talked about it a little yesterday, but they went with Davis Bertans at the 4, Dorian Finney-Smith at the 5 late in this game for a lot of the fourth quarter. But then even later, after they took Davis Bertans out, at the very end of this game for the last couple of minutes, they had Luka, Brunson, Dinwiddie, Bullock, and Dorian Finney-Smith out there. That is Luka is the tallest guy in that lineup. That is a 6 foot to 6'8" lineup of just guys like that. And Brunson is the only 6 foot guy. There's, Brunson is 6 foot. There's Bullock and Dinwiddie that are both listed as 6'5", 6'6". Dorian is 6'7", and Luka is 6'8". How much can the Mavs get away with a small ball lineup like that?
I think they can for a lot of matchups. Going back to what I said a little bit ago, the playoffs are so much different than the regular season, and having that flexibility to be able to do that, I think is so key because, so somebody tweeted at me after the game was like, all right, cool. They ran, basically, I'm paraphrasing here. They ran small ball during the 5 was fun, but how often are you even going to, when does it even matter type thing? Because there's some other guys out there, and it's like, all right, well, who's scaring you enough to where you have to adjust? When you start looking across the board, Golden State doesn't have a big out there. I know
they just did it.
Yeah, and so you just play that way. Utah, they don't give a crap about Rudy Gobert. So it doesn't matter. They're
on
not
offense.
Yeah, but I say they don't give a crap about Rudy Gobert because they're not putting in a big because Rudy Gobert is on the floor. The Clippers didn't care about it last year, and they beat them in a series, and that will be the Mavs, if they play them in the playoffs.
Yep.
Then you're looking at Memphis, and it's all right, cool. If you want to put Steven Adams out there, then sure, we'll dare you. We'll play the Boban treatment, and dare you to throw it down low. You're not changing up your whole game plan for Steven Adams, and it's Jaren Jackson Jr., that's probably a maxi matchup, but you're just looking at, it's Jokic, right? Jokic is the only guy that if you face them in a playoff series, which I've said since we've started debating this group of teams, Denver is last on this list. Utah is number 1. Memphis is 2 for me. Denver's last as far as those 3. That would just change up some things because I don't think you can even pull off small ball at all. I mean, you'd have to have at least some. I mean, he's going to get his numbers anyway, but you'd at least have to throw Maxey or Dwight. I mean, something.
The one thing about, so the Mavs or most likely play Memphis or Utah if they stay about where they are and don't make any kind of huge, movement up or down. They would play Memphis or Utah. And with Utah, you kind of made the point, is that they're not worried about Rudy Gobert on offense, right? The other day, the Mavs played a little small. They played Dwight Powell out there. We all know Dwight Powell is not the best defender, especially against bigs like that. And Rudy Gobert had 6 buckets, and they were all like dunks. There wasn't any kind of post up, anything like that. They're not doing any of that stuff. The other thing is Memphis. And Memphis right now, according to Cleaning the Glass, is 23rd in the NBA in half-court offense. Memphis thrives on getting transition buckets. And the Mavs, when they don't turn the ball over, like they, unlike what they did against the Warriors, they'll limit that. And then they'll get into a half-court set. And then all of a sudden, I mean, the Grizzlies are just not as efficient in that area because they don't have a lot of guys that can get their own shot off the dribble. Ja obviously can, and he's been incredible this year. But other than that, are you worried about Jaren Jackson Jr. posting up? Are you worried again about Steven Adams posting up? I think as long as the Mavs can throw a double and rotate well enough, then they can handle that, right? He's not going to kill you. Jaren Jackson Jr. is not going to kill you as much as a Jokic would, that you would change your entire scheme and lineup to, put somebody else out there. So I'm with you. I think they can get away with this, especially against the teams they're going to play with. They're not facing a Joel Embiid. They're not facing even like a Bam Adebayo or a Giannis. They're just not.
Ayton is a guy that I would just be curious on how they play him.
And they would only play him like in the second round though. If they.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying like any potential.
Any West team, yeah.
Yeah, like him. I think Towns would probably be in that Jokic, AD, especially when you have, a marksman like him, one of the best shooting bigs ever in that. But, you bring up the small ball because it's opened up so many things. And I know we laughed about your comment earlier in the season about the stretch of 5 games could define the season and all of that. But I'm going to bring this back for a second.
Oh,
turn the camera on, intern. Could this fourth quarter define the Mavs season?
Oh, I went with a stretch of 5 games. You went with literally like a 12-minute span of.
And I say define it because I feel like this fourth quarter has the potential for us to come back to and reference so many times. Mm-hmm. Like it's one of those points of the season of, remember when they first threw Dorian out the 5 in that small, remember that comeback. Remember when they put 3 guys. Remember when Bertans was out there as the 4 with Dorian. Remember the 3-guard lineup that we really saw it in stride there in the fourth quarter. They closed out with Dinwiddie and Brunson, with Luka kind of for the first time there. Like I don't think it's determining the whole season. They beat the Warriors, so therefore they're winning the title type thing. But I think it's one of those defining moments that we could look back on and reference for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and we've seen Jason Kidd try things like this, which we like, right? We love when you try new stuff and throw it out there and see if it's working. So that small ball is definitely something that he's trying. And when they put Maxey out there, is it that much different than playing small ball? And so they said, okay, well that can go both ways. You can. Is it that much different? Okay, we'll put Maxey out there for a little bit of a bigger defender at the rim. Is it that much different when you take Maxey out? Okay, we can take Maxey and be a little bit more mobile on the perimeter. And so that can give you the advantage, right? Some of these games are one of the smallest of margins. And you may need that as a card to play, a hand to deal in the playoffs. And so now the Mavs have that.
And that ability to go small, like we were texting about it during the game, during that fourth the other night, and we're saying, imagine if they didn't make the trade and the spot Dallas would have been in there at that moment, because what Porzingis had proven to us and to the Mavs is he couldn't really take advantage a lot of the mismatch down low enough to force the other team.
Yeah. That whole conversation we just had about Jaren Jackson, other teams had about the Mavs.
Yeah. So that's why other teams for the past 3 years have been putting 6'7", 6'8" dudes like Derrick Jones Jr. type dudes on KP, and they're like, hey, we'll just play our odds because he hasn't taken advantage of it. So if they didn't make the trade, then Dallas is in this weird spot in the fourth quarter of that Golden State game saying, so are we just gonna we're gonna have to bench KP right now? I mean, there's no way we can bench KP. So
they were doing that at times though.
Exactly. They started doing that, but they couldn't have put him out there because then he's guarding Otto Porter Jr. And I mean, he's the 5 at that. So that's where this flexibility of when you start looking at matchups, like I'm not scared of the Clippers. That in a way, I would be kind of scared to face the Clippers in the playoffs if we had KP, because I'm like, dude, what are we going to be doing right now? Like they have this flexibility now to where, yeah, there's not a ton of matchups there in the West that I'm looking at saying, dude, how are we even gonna like do this like defensively or anything?
Couple more big questions coming. One more big question about this Warriors game, and then a couple more cool things. The Mavs signed a two-way guy, Moses Wright. We'll talk about him in a minute, and then we'll finish talking about this last question about the 3-guard lineup for the Mavs. Talk about all that and more coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Bet Online. From the latest odds, totals, player performance props, and everything, go to betonline.net. It's the #1 spot for all of your sports betting needs. Go check it out right now. See what's available. You can check out nightly NBA games. They have the game for tomorrow. The Lakers at home against the Mavericks. Mavericks are a 4-point favorite against the Lakers.
In LA, baby.
In LA. You think Luka's going to be motivated the day after his birthday?
Motivated or
Yeah, I was gonna say it's gonna swing one of the two ways
in LA.
And the Lakers are definitely reeling in a bad way right now. So if you feel strong about that, go to BetOnline, check it out, betonline.net. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. It's BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, Isaac Harris, let's finish up with one more question about that Warriors win. The 3-guard lineup, Luka, Dinwiddie, and Brunson. We have now seen it in all 4 games. The first game when Kidd threw it out there, of course, we were saying, like, there's no way he's going to try that because that lineup just wouldn't work. And he's now tried it 4 times, which I actually do appreciate. Just try it. See it, throw it out there and see what happens. Dinwiddie's a little bit bigger. You're not going to get destroyed on defense in that way. Brunson has held his own on defense in the regular season this year. And so now they've tried it 4 times. Is this something that they can continue, or is this just an experiment that Kidd is trying?
Kidd's wearing a bracelet and it says, like, what would Rick do? And because this was totally what Rick would do. Rick
the
would
3-guard lineups?
Yes, he would.
Except for it would be, remember the 3-guard lineup of Yogi, JJ Barea, and Devin Harris?
Yeah.
And it was that lineup plus Dirk and Dorian was the best lineup in the NBA at one point in one of the Mavs losing years. It was the weirdest thing in the world, but it worked so well, and Rick looked like a genius.
Shout out to you guys out there who were here for Yogi Mania.
Oh, that was the time. That was the most exciting thing that happened that year, and that is saying
so
something about
now.
that year. Whew, what was that? 16, 17?
God bless, man.
Anyway, but what do we think about this lineup right now? They've played a very limited sample size, right? It's
31 minutes.
31
together.
minutes, 56 possessions. They have 130 offensive rating, which is insane, and 110 defensive rating, which is fine.
Plus 17 net though.
Well, plus 20 according to Cleaning the Glass. So,
okay.
If you do that math, that makes it look even better. Cleaning the Glass takes out heaves and it takes out garbage time. But that offense is great. The offense with those guys on the floor is awesome. You can swing it to either side. You have a bunch of guys that can do stuff. Brunson and Dinwiddie have been hitting their shots over the last couple of games. They're catch and shoot threes, specifically Dinwiddie at the end of the game against this Warriors team. But can they keep up? Can they keep it up with this lineup?
I just got to see more. I got to see more against different types of teams and opponents with more perimeter guys. That I want to see it defensively. I think a small thing that, there's not really a stat to show this, but one of the things I like about it is there are times that Dallas gets, has the ball and it's late in the shot clock and somebody's just standing there. And it's like, well, where's Luka? It's like, Luka, come get the ball. It's like they're so like, they're not gonna dribble because it's like if Maxi's out there and Dwight's out there and Dorian's out there, even like Reggie Bullock, like none of these guys are really like creators. They know their roles. Like Dorian and them talked about this post game the other day. But now they have like when they have all 3 of those guys out there, now it's not like panic mode. Where's Luka? And if Luka is talking to a fan, if he wants to, you at least have like 2 other guys that can come get the ball and go create and do something. So I like it. I like it offensively, especially if Dinwiddie can prove that he can hit a catch and shoot 3 like he's been doing in the past 2 games. But I got to see more of it for me to feel comfortable about it, like to close games against like elite teams.
I would take this lineup and look at it the same way we're looking at the small ball lineup. How many teams can you get away with this? Because it's going to be the defensive end for the Mavericks that's going to factor in with this small ball lineup. How many teams out there have a guy that can hurt you on the other end, right? A LeBron that can find the switch and get Brunson on him or Dinwiddie on him and take advantage of him. We know that he's not gonna, guys like that don't take advantage of Luka that much because he's just big and strong and gets in the way. But I mean, does Memphis have a guy like that? No. Does Utah? We didn't really see that. They tried this lineup against Utah and it had some success. The Warriors don't necessarily, because they tried that with Curry and it didn't really work. The Suns,
they do have 2 all-star starters, by the way, Wiggins.
The Suns have Ayton who can post up and would definitely hurt you if you tried this 3-guard lineup like this and they tried that switching against them.
But it depends on who the other 2 guys are too. Like if they're going the extra,
but I'm saying going against a team that can hunt Dinwiddie and Brunson, right? And so it doesn't matter who the other guys are. Going against a team that can do that. I get the
hunting thing, but I guess my thing is they would always hunt Brunson, so it wouldn't matter if all 3 of them are out there.
Because they're just going to hunt Brunson anyway. They're not going to hunt Dinwiddie.
It's always going to be Brunson. So that's like a bigger type of guy, like a LeBron or a big, for an opposing team. So I think I want to see what this 3-man lineup looks like, or this, the 3 ball handle, whatever we want to call them, with a big out there and then Dorian, or the extra small lineup that we saw at the end of that Warriors game with Reggie and Dorian. Because at that point, it's like, all right, well, it's Dorian, Luka, Reggie. Like, I mean, you're all switching and everything at that point.
And you're also giving up size, but you're adding speed. And so in that speed, the team can rotate a lot better, right? They can get to a spot more quickly. This is what we're seeing now with this, small and even smaller ball lineups that the Mavs have thrown out there, is you can rotate quickly. And if somebody does hunt Brunson or somebody, then somebody else can come help quickly. And then hopefully that player can't throw a pass quick enough that somebody can't recover quick enough to get to the corner. Yeah. So that's definitely something to watch out for, is those 3 guards in that lineup. Let us know in the comments what you think about that lineup and if the Mavs can sustain that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that Dinwiddie is a slasher. And so on offense with this 3-guard lineup is that Luka and Brunson are not slashers, right? If you think about a traditional slasher in the NBA, guy that just goes north-south and can get to the rim, Ja Morant is a slasher, right? You think about guys like that can just get to the rim and can finish around the rim because he has long arms. He's pretty strong. He can, he's a little bigger than you expect. And so he can get to the rim. Brunson is not that. He finishes around the rim with just his herky-jerky,
He's crafty.
I'm going to, like JJ Bittenbinder, I'm going to throw him off his rhythm. Like he's going to do that. Luka is just going to manhandle you to the rim. You don't even get that reference. You can't.
I know. That's why I put my head down.
Somebody will get that reference, and I will really appreciate them for that.
That's a great show.
But that's not even what it is. But Dinwiddie as a slasher is definitely a big positive for the Mavs because it gives them another option as well to score to the rim. And I noticed that watching that Warriors game again. Last couple things here. The Mavericks signed Moses Wright. They added him to the other 2-way spot. Theo Pinson is the other 2-way guy, which, by the way, I was watching the game again, and Theo Pinson, anytime Reggie Bullock shoots, he yells, "Shooter!" He just yells, "Shooter." Listen, if you ever watch, I think it's because they have the UNC connection, but they seem to be enjoying being on the same team together. Anyway, the Mavs signed Moses Wright. He is he's now on the 2-way spot. He's a 6'9" wing from Georgia Tech. He's a rookie this year. He was all ACC, all defensive team, and the ACC Player of the Year last year at Georgia Tech.
Yeah, he's fun. I mean, he's a 2-way guy, so I don't want us freaking out about it. Posting highlight clips of, hey, this is what he could be in the playoffs type thing. I mean, he's played 1 game in the NBA. He has been playing well.
But he's played 1 game, 1 minute, and 1 assist. That's crazy. That's crazy efficiency.
He was fun in college, though. I watched a little bit of him, when he's at Georgia Tech, and he averaged 16, 17 points a game at college, 40% from 3. He could get a bucket, and so we'll see. I mean, like we were saying a while ago, I mean, he's been shooting over 40% from 3 in the G League, playing pretty well. Once again, you can never have enough.
You can never have enough wings. The Mavs are taking a shot at another one here. They all of a sudden have a bunch of wings now, right? Like,
yes, just sign me up. Like, this is the type of players that you want to take swings on. I don't need to take a swing on, another Pierre Jackson.
Oh, it's a shot. The shot at Pierre Jackson.
Sorry.
Poppy God just took that one right in the chest. Yeah, so there you go. Mavs signed Moses Wright. Not a lot of thoughts about him, but he is now a Dallas Maverick, and we hadn't talked about him, and he got signed like 4 days ago. So there's the update on that.
We saw some of your tweets, guys. We know he was on the team, but I didn't
see any tweets on this. I'm gonna give people more credit. I'm gonna give more
okay.
people,
I saw some tweets on it, but I was like, do I talk about this Warriors game or Moses Wright?
With all due respect to Moses Wright. Tomorrow, the Mavericks, or today, if you're listening, watching this on Tuesday, the Mavericks play the Lakers. This is a pretty, these next couple games are pretty big for the Mavs. Lakers and then Warriors again on Thursday at home. That is another big game because the Warriors may want revenge. Clay may be back for that game.
Could define the season.
I have no idea if Draymond is going to come back. Well, it's not the fourth quarter of the last game, so I don't know if it'll define the season. And so, yeah, that'll be a big game. We'll have you for post game both of those days and for the rest of this week. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.